Happy Monday, Wildcat fans. And as always, thanks for making this your first listen of the day. You're listening to Locked On Wildcats. Arizona blasts NAU. And you might say, how did we get here? You know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about how we got here. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right. We have an audience here watching us today. This is true. We have the great Ben White about 15, or I don't know, about 10 feet from me right now, watching, making sure that this overview is done correctly. Also, the show is brought to you today by FanDuel, so check it out. All right. Now, Arizona beats NAU 38-3, and this was an interesting game. A lot of Arizona fans are complaining. And I say one thing to those Arizona fans that are complaining: stop it. Arizona won. We don't care. Arizona won, and they won easily. And most importantly, they covered. You should be on FanDuel for that one right there. But there's a lot to make out in this game right here. But the first and foremost is the talent overhaul at Arizona has been immense the last couple of years. Now, keep in mind, and again, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke and say that, the Arizona is where they need to be. But after a couple years, Jedd Fisch he's done what he said he was going to do. He brought in more talent, and it's looked very good in the process doing it. Now, starting with, we'll just start with the quarterback position, and we'll work kind of backwards a little bit. But first, we need to talk about what this win means against NAU, because I know it's NAU, but Arizona 2 years ago lost to NAU. That can never happen. So there are some door jams out there that no matter what happened in this game, they were going to be upset. If Arizona won easily, it was going to be because Jedd opened up the book. Or if Arizona won close, it's because Arizona sucks. We are not those door jams. We are other people. And we're going to say that Jedd Fisch did exactly what he should. To quote a very cliche announcer, Arizona kept it vanilla and bared it down. But we can go a little bit more in depth than that. So let's talk a little bit first about Jayden de Laura. Kind of at the point with JDL, and this isn't a bad thing, but kind of at the point with JDL where you kind of know who he is at this point. He can make some really big plays. He can run around the field. He's actually taken what the defense gives him now, which is a very good thing. We like to see that. Good work there, Mr. JDL. But he also still does some stupid things. He throws some dumb interceptions. He has some odd fumbles. But again, that's just going to kind of be who he is at this point. And you know what? There's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just kind of where we're at. But he does have a boatload of talent around him, which is, I think is very, very important. And the first thing that I think a lot of people need to know is that, who are those talented players? And we saw them in abundance last night. The running back position is absolutely loaded right there. Michael Wiley is Michael Wiley is very, very good. And not only is he very good, he's also a pass catcher out of the backfield as well. And you showed that last night. Over 60 yards rushing, over 60 yards passing, just a lot to be excited about with him. And then after that, you got other players that have come in and made a very nice difference right there. The other one is Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman has been very, very good for Arizona, and he's kind of that workout warrior type, but he's also not somebody that is just a workout warrior like we've seen before with the Chris Henry. Chris Henry is probably a comparison for somebody who's not very good but looks the part in the weight room. This is not the same dude. He can get to the edge. He can outrun people, and he can stiff arm you as well. Again, just a very, very good running back right there. Then after that, you've also got Fam, our guy, Rayshon Speedy Luke. Again, to my knowledge, I am not related to Speedy Luke. I've had people ask me this before, and I tell them that I am not related to Speedy Luke. even though I would like to be related to Speedy Luke. But I like seeing him get a little few more carries. But again, I don't want those coming in garbage time. I want those coming when the game is actually in doubt. Again, we ask for little and we expect much. And Rayshon, Speedy Luke, we need more. We need 8 to 10 touches a game for fam right there. Check it out. And thank you, Jason Shear, by the way. Now, also, DJ Williams got in there. Now, DJ Williams is an interesting guy. DJ Williams wants you to know when DJ Williams is around. Yeah. Might say, Mike, what do you mean by that? Well, thanks for asking. DJ Williams rides around in a huge truck on campus, which I've seen many, many times, that says, I am DJ Williams. So there is no doubt about who is driving that truck. It is DJ Williams. And that, I think, is by design. So, again, good stuff. Then we've got, so you got those guys right there. Then at the wide receiver spot, it's loaded. Now, the great Ben White, a man who makes more money than I make and will always make more money than I make. So Ben White is a successful person. Ben White told me that these Arizona wide receivers were not quite as good as maybe I thought. Up in the press box, though, Ben White said that I was right and he was wrong. That's where Ben White is right now. That means that's how good the wide receiver unit is right there. By the way, Ben White watching right now. Hello, Ben White. Say hello, Ben White. There you go. Ben White is in town visiting from California. But joking aside, he didn't say any of that. But this wide receiver unit is loaded. You got Jacob Cowing, and he made his presence felt. You got T-Mac. The question was posed yesterday: who would get out of all the Arizona players? Who is the one that could really make a national run at things? And I think the first person that you got to think about is T-Mac, because he's just a guy that looks a little bit different. We talk about this all the time, players that look different at the U of A. He looks different. And guess what? He looks different because he's a 5-star wide receiver. Guess what? Arizona generally doesn't get 5-star wide receivers, especially ones that look like that. And T-Mac is a 5-star wide receiver. He looked good. He caught touchdowns. Over or under 14 touchdowns, I think, is a good number for the Wildcats. That's where we're at with this one. Okay. Now. Who else right there? Montana Lamonius Craig. All right. Sounds like a name out of a Key and Peele skit. And I messed that up because I was scratching my voice, but who cares? But he's good. He's really good. Now, we're also finding out that maybe anybody that was booted out of Colorado or whatever, not booted out, but left Colorado, maybe they're good, because we're also finding out that Colorado is good as well. Montana Lamonius Craig has some leaders of men quality to him right there. He looked good. And we need to see more out of our guy, Kevin Green. Big fan of Kevin Green Jr. I'd like to see him play even more. And not only would I like to see him play even more, I'd like to see him continue to get some action out there on the field. Now, first things first, though, let's talk about FanDuel. All right, FanDuel. FanDuel's not going anywhere. We've been telling you on this show from the beginning, get in on FanDuel right now. Take the over of 5 wins for Arizona, and it has continued to happen. The movement has spread, and not only has the movement spread, the FanDuel.com locked on, very good stuff. Now, again, as you can tell by this overlay, that's where you go. But again, this is the time to hop in. You got football, you got basketball right around the corner. Most of the lame sports are going away, but you can still bet on them if you want, because it'll make it a little bit more interesting. But check it out. Again, FanDuel.com/locked on. All right, we are going to take a quick little break, come back, and we're going to talk about what we saw from the offensive line and maybe a little bit of the defense. Well, actually, a lot of the defense. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. We're going all 21 minutes today. So maybe even a few more. And the first thing, offensive line, I thought they did what they needed to do. Arizona was able to run the ball, and they were able to keep JDL up. That's what you got to do. Again, this line, this is a talented line. It's not a great line because it's not super deep, but especially when you had Robert Polito miss the game, which I don't think anybody foresaw happening, you needed to be able to have some other dudes in there. And Arizona was able to do just that. You brought in Sam Lange. Sam Lange said, I will put my flag down on this guard position, and he did just that. And then at the defensive, on the defensive side of the ball, let's talk about that. The one thing that we notice, there's no more Smurfs out there on the defensive line. There's no people that look like me. We do not need people to look like Mike Luke on the defensive line. We need bigger people in there. And in the trenches, Big Bill Norton. Big Bill Norton was absolutely fantastic in this game. Big Bill Norton lived up to his name of being big. He's about 330 pounds, massive individual, huge dude. Big Bill Norton, very, very good player. And again, just because somebody doesn't play at Georgia doesn't mean that he can't play at the University of Arizona, because while the University of Arizona wants to become better than Georgia, we're not there yet. It's going to take a couple more years. But you know what? If Jed Fish can continue to fish out these big-time recruits, maybe we will get to that point. But Big Bill Norton, we need more Big Bill Nortons, not less Big Bill Nortons. Then got some other things, obviously, on this team that were very, very impressive. With a first thing I'll say is on the defensive line, Upshaw. I like Upshaw. Upshaw is a very good football player. And not only is he a very good football player, he is a dude who is, again, another Colorado guy. Got a QB hit in there. Like what I saw out of him. On the defensive line, honestly, if you were able to get 9 tackles for loss, and not only 9 tackles for loss, but also, besides those 9 tackles for loss, you were also able to basically stifle the NAU running game, which, you know, might sound stupid, might sound dumb, but it doesn't really matter right here. And I think the big thing is, let's see here. I think the big thing is that right now, the Arizona is at a stage where you just need these dudes to be able to take up blocks, because then at that linebacker spot, you got some guys that can make some plays right here. And I think a big part of it is that, you know, that linebacker unit, Jacob Manu is going to have a lot of tackles this year, but like we said, the one thing about Jacob Manu is he has got to be able to make plays. Not only does he need to be able to make plays, he needs to be able to make plays closer to the line of scrimmage. And I mean, not those safety tackles that we've been talking about. He needs to be able to get those tackles there. I just found a very funny tweet that I am sending in group, by the way, about the Arizona football game. All right, now, and then Dalton Johnson. Again, a lot of people are wondering, why is Dalton Johnson starting? You saw why Dalton Johnson was starting. He was involved in plays all over the field, looked really, really good, as did Tai Uiagalelei. Tai Uiagalelei is he's a dude that I was a little surprised probably wasn't going to start this year on that D-line, but he got the block kick, which we got to give Jason Scheer credit. I was sitting right next to Jason Scheer, and he said, this kick is going to be blocked. Watch it. I can feel it. Not only was it blocked, it was brought back. Jason Scheer manifested all of that. Tip of the cap to Jason Scheer. He's wrong on many, many things, but he was right about that one. And then defensively, Ephesians Prysock, that dude's going to be a problem. And not only is he going to be a problem, he is going to be a problem for quite a while. I think the big thing with Prysock is that he needs to just continue to play within the strengths of his system, because he's good. And you can tell that he's very, very much benefited from having Duane Akina in there. But, you know, speaking of Duane Akina, that isn't the guy that Scheer was wrong on. Duane Akina, he said he was some old guy. Yeah, he is old, but guess what? He's really, really good. I could watch Duane Akina coach for years, as could Ben White. And you know what? If we're both in agreement on this, then that means that we were right. But the defense, well, let's just be honest, though. Seriously, the defense was far more active than we had seen in the past. And not only was it more active, it just looked like it had a sense of purpose. Now, under Don Brown, I liked what I saw. The Don Brown defenses I thought were good. And not only were they good, they were not good. That's too strong of a term. I'm not going to say they were good. I'll say that they were aggressive in that they forced turnovers. And not only did they force turnovers, they were able to, at least get the ball out on the field a little bit. And not only get the ball out on the field, they were able to essentially make some real, essentially make things happen that last year's team didn't. And what I mean by that is on last year's team, the big thing about it is that they combined not getting after the passer with giving up running attack as well. That's generally not a good combination. You don't like to see that. And that's what happened last year with Arizona. We don't want to see that this year, that's for sure. So hopefully you can stop the ball at the line of scrimmage and force some turnovers in the meantime, because if you can do both of those, then I think you're in pretty good shape if you're Arizona right there. We like to see that. And then obviously, at those safety spots, I'd like to see more Genesis Smith. Big fan of Genesis Smith. Jed Fish thought he was being silly with putting out a depth chart that didn't have Genesis on the 2 deep. I say, Coach, nobody bought that. You were being silly, and you were called out on it right there, as you should have been. But again, Jed Fish, you're the man. I'm not. So again, props on that one. Now, we also need to talk about something major that happened up in the press box during the game, during the U of A football game. But first, Athletic Brewing. All right, here it is. Check out the athleticbrewingcompany.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 15% off your first order. Again, athleticbrewing.com. This is the place that you want to go. Again, you've got all kinds of good stuff right here. This is our first Athletic Brewing read right here. I like this read. And I think that you all would like it as well. Check out Athletic Brewing. And again, all kinds of really good IPAs right here. And on top of that, you can get all kinds of Shop Athletic Brewing online, all natural ingredients, non-alcoholic IPAs. Yummy, yummy, yummy. But check it out, a non-alcoholic IPA at Athletic Brewing. Use code Locked On for 15% off your first order. Check out the brew that everybody's talking about. All right, we're going to talk about this press box story here in just a minute. But first, we need to take a break. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats, making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now there was a major movement up in the press box. All of you know the great Brian Jeffries, and if you don't, you're not an Arizona fans, and you're probably not watching the show then. But I have been telling Brian Jeffries from day one that the Del Taco cheeseburger, again, I don't like anything else of Del Taco, but the Del Taco cheeseburger is what legends are made out of. And it's a life-altering experience. There's just really no other way around it. You have the Del Taco cheeseburger once, and then you tell all your friends about it. You end up getting married to one of these people because they bond with you so much over the Del Taco cheeseburger. But not only did we bring up the Del Taco cheeseburger to Brian Jeffries, we brought up the Double Del Bacon cheeseburger to Brian Jeffries and Lamont Lovett right there. And it was scintillating. They liked it a great deal, and there's a reason they liked it. It's because they're smart people. But again, the Del Taco cheeseburger was eaten by the voice of the Wildcats before the game, and I think that's probably why he called such a great game, besides the fact that he's generally very good. But the Del Taco cheeseburger did have an impact on the game. Now, special teams, I do have a qualm to pick right here. Not happy with not having our guy Rayshon Speedy Luke, a.k.a. Fam, returning kicks. He needs to be returning kicks out there. When you're 5'8", 160, you need to be returning kicks. There's absolutely no reason for you to not be returning kicks. We need kick returners in the mold of Rayshon Speedy Luke out there, Fam. Again, I don't understand in this day and age why you have somebody returning a kick that's just going to fair catch it. We don't need that. We need somebody that can break into the house. We need Rayshon Speedy Luke out there. And if he is, then I think Arizona's in nice shape. We didn't really need to see the kicker much, but between Kyle Ostendorp, Tyler Loop, we know we're in good hands. But more so than anything, this was just a win that Arizona needed. Arizona needed to be able to exercise some demons right here and go out and just beat the snot out of NAU. Because, again, you get a lot of trolls like Chief out there that'll talk about, Arizona stinks. They lost NAU. Arizona went in and they blasted NAU, and they didn't even look particularly good in the process. But that also shows you the talent level out there, the talent disparity that Arizona has been able to work with. And again, you'll say that Arizona should have more talent than NAU. And yes, you would be correct. But that hasn't always been the case right there. And Jed Fish has followed through on that, and he has made that happen to a T. So that's, again, it's kind of where we're at. But Very, very good first game of the season. We're going to start talking a little bit about Mississippi State. I believe that Arizona has a very legitimate chance against Mississippi State, while others say they don't. I think they are wrong. We will make the case for why Arizona has a case again or can beat Mississippi State. But like I said, more so than anything, this was just a good win for Arizona. There is nothing wrong with it being there's nothing wrong with it being bland or vanilla or anything like that. You just needed to be able to get a win, and not only get a win, you need to be able to get a a win that just was easy. And again, it wasn't pretty, but Arizona certainly showed the talent level that it has out there and that it is much, much better than where it has been in the past. All right. Now, happy Monday to everybody out there. Happy, what is it, Labor Day? Yeah, Labor Day. And we will be back with you, though, tomorrow, because, again, we are in game-by-game season or game-by-game, day-by-day recordings right here. But, as always, very much appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke, back the A. We will be back with you tomorrow. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.